morning, we're just going to get right into it. We're in this brand new series. I'm going to keep talking while I go backstage and grab one of these. We're in a brand new series called Urgent. And the whole purpose behind this series, here we go. Hi, I'm back. We forget how we do things sometimes. We got another year in the books. Another page is turned, and there we have another lap around the sun, and we're here we strive to improve, each and every one of us, as we go through our years. There's something about when the calendar page flips into a new year. We want to improve something about ourselves. We want to get better in many ways in our lives. But if we're honest with ourselves and we're honest with others, there's things that get in the way of this. There's excuses that are made. There are routines that are dropped. And many times they're for good reasons. Good reasons. But as we approach and as we're in this brand new year, what if it would be different? What would be different if this lap around the sun we committed to something that maybe we don't necessarily commit to each time? What if we committed it to being the best year spiritually that we've ever had? How would our lives, our relationships, how would our health be affected by this? What if we realize that we are not guaranteed? What if we realize we're not guaranteed to finish this lap, but we're determined to finish it well? What would be different? You know, it's always interesting when we come in. You kind of have a feeling there's a rhythm that we have in life, isn't there? We go through our each year, and we get towards the end of the year, and we're celebrating, and we're enjoying life, and then we flip the page and we go, something's going to be different this year. Something. I don't know about you, but I have throughout my years have committed to changing some things in my life. Resolutions. Things like my physical health, so that I can spend my time here on earth and to take care of my kids, to be able to be active, to one day, by the grace of God, be able to get on the ground with grandkids. Years that I have committed to growing intellectually, so that I could be equipped to be the leader that I want to be, so that I can be sharp, that I can be smart, that I can be wise. There's been years that I have committed to growing financially, so that if something were to go sideways in the world, there's something to fall back on. All of these times, all of these efforts that I've made at the beginning of the year, all of this was to feel like I'm in a stronger position to live my life. But for many different reasons, they get dropped. Some successfully I've made through, most of them I have not. We each tackle each new year determined that something is going to change or we're going to get better. We push forward in the name of growth in different areas of our lives. And this is a good thing. This really is a good thing that we would choose to do. But the problem with the singular pursuit in these areas is that changing circumstances dictate how we follow through many times. How I choose to follow through with my physical health many times is dictated by the circumstances that I experience. I stopped going to the gym, because I don't have enough time in the day, or there was an injury that I had, so some things needed to change, so I needed to let that go to the side, or maybe I just flat out got lazy. Right? There's maybe I'm experiencing some failing health. There's the financial side of things. I want to be strong financially, but the economy dictated that wasn't necessarily going to be the case because of the economy, I don't have a job, or because of inflation, I'm unable to get ahead. I'm just trying to keep my head above water just for the moment. There's different reasons for why these things don't. And when we're focused on those things singularly, circumstances dictate how we actually pursue through those. But there is still, we even know this, don't we? Each and every year we go into the new year, it's going to be different. I know that I didn't make it through this. I didn't complete what I tried to set out to do before last year, but this year, I'm still going to give this a shot. Even though we know that probably a few weeks down the road, it's just going to slip away. But why is it? There's something about flipping over that calendar page that brings this urgency in our lives. that we could do this at any point, right? Any point through the year, we could make this change. But there's something about flipping that calendar page that causes us to go, nope, I'm going to do it now. This is the moment right here that I'm going to give this a shot. Why is that? Why do you think that is? Because I think there is a deep, divinely ingrained understanding that with each flip of that calendar page, that the sum total of our days, well, they're lessening. In other words, we realize that our days are numbered. That we only have so many more laps around the sun. We don't know how many, but we only have so many. So with that being said, there's something to be gained when we realize this. In Psalm 90:12 it says this, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. I love this verse because what it says to us is that when it says teach us, it means that we don't fully understand. We don't fully understand that our days are depleting, that they're running out. We don't hold on to that, especially in our youth. Especially when we're younger, we realize that hey, I know I've got tomorrow. But there's something about when we flip that calendar page that begins to, when we gain another year, when we have another year around the sun, that brings something to us, and maybe we don't realize at that point. But I love this idea to teach us to number our days so that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Not only are we to sharpen, will it not only sharpen our minds, but it sharpens our hearts. It gets our hearts in the right place. There's a Bible commentator named John Trapp. He once said in regards to Psalm 90:12, he said this, to live with dying thoughts is the way to live with, or way to die with living comforts. Let me say that again. To live with dying thoughts is the way to die with living comforts. The idea that knowing our days are numbered will shift our perspective greatly. It'll bring a sense of urgency to us. And hopefully it will be in every area of our life. But the reality of it is, we can know our days may be numbered. We may all understand that. But the comfort only comes from one source, though. The comfort in knowing that our days are numbered. Jesus is the only comfort with the knowledge that our days are numbered. Jesus is the only comfort with the knowledge that our days are numbered. The reality that everyone faces is that truth that our days are numbered. But not everyone lives with that comfort of knowing that Jesus is the solution to that. That our days may be numbered here on earth, but they don't have to be numbered for eternity. And what it can do, when we begin to wrap our minds around this, we can shift our thoughts. We can shift our perspective on physical health and on our financial state. We can do all of those things, but it only does so much. The stabilizer of all things, of everything, is putting Jesus at the center of it all, at the very center of it. So what could be different if we committed to our growth in 2023 by being dedicated to our relationship with Jesus? What if we sought to know God better in 2023? We only have so much time on this side of heaven to grow in the knowledge of the Creator, the very one who gives us purpose. See, there is a revelation and wisdom when we commit to knowing Him better. So I want to take a look inside a first century church in Ephesus. The Apostle Paul, it won't be in your notes, but the Apostle Paul in his letter to the Ephesians, he wrote this. He says this in Ephesians 1, chapter 1, verse 17. It says this, I keep asking that the God of our Lord Jesus Christ, the glorious Father, may give you the spirit of wisdom and revelation so that you may know Him better. That you may know Him better. The prayer that Paul had for the church of Ephesus, really what the prayer would be for each and every one of us, would be that we would know God better. Now, wouldn't it be incredible if a group of people decided that this next year was going to be their best year spiritually? Wouldn't that be incredible? I mean, think about it. We go into these new years individually. We go individually determined. We go individually determined that we are going to better ourselves in some way, shape, or form. But what if you would know that there is someone who is determined to grow spiritually as well? What if you knew that there was somebody sitting next to you, or there was somebody that would be in the same room as you? What if you knew that there was a whole group of people that were determined that this would be their goal in 2023, is that they were going to grow to know God better, to really know God? What would that do for each and every one of us? It's difficult to do this alone, isn't it? It's incredibly uplifting when we know that there's others that are involved in this. What if we realize that regardless of what takes place in 2023, if we commit to growing spiritually, it really is the best thing that we can do. And many times we wonder, well, how do I do that? So many times we overcomplicate what God has designed to be incredibly simple. We overcomplicate it. To simply rely upon the Creator, Jesus spoke simple words to concerned people. People who were wondering, how will I take care of my family? People who were concerned about their health physically. People who were concerned whether they were going to be sufficient enough intellectually. People who were concerned how they would survive financially. He simply said these words, and Matthew recorded them in chapter 6, verse 33. It says this, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." I want you to notice that I said simple, and not necessarily easy, but the simple route, the simple procedure, the simple process that God instituted for each and every one of us, that if we were going to experience what the best is for each and every one of our lives, would be that we would seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. Jesus is saying that if we seek him first, provision will come. If we seek him first, he will care for us. But it takes trust and it takes faith. And Jesus never asked us to do anything that he wasn't willing to do himself. And Jesus exercised this in the life that he had here on earth. He is asking us to do the same. So we see in another psalm within Scripture, the page of Scripture, in a psalm of wisdom that King David wrote. He wrote the following. He said in Psalm 37, chapter 37, verse 3 through 5, it says this: "Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will do this." Very clear what is being stated there is that regardless of the circumstances, regardless of what is taking place, trust in the Lord. David's writing this in a space where there was so much going on around him, so much coming up against him, but all he knew is that he needed to trust in the Lord. That there were good things that were on the other side of this if we would choose to trust the Lord, that benefits will come from committing our ways to him. By committing our ways to the Lord, something good will come of this. And the great part about it is that he will do this. That he will do it. That when we put our faith, when we put our sights on him, that he will be the one that does it. What is this, you may ask? What is it? You name it. You name it. He covers the gamut. He covers all that we need. We see that he calls himself the great I am. I am the bread of life, Jesus says. That sustains our physical life. Christ offers and sustains our spiritual life. He says, I am the light of the world. To the world that's lost in darkness, Christ offers himself as a guide. He says, I am the door of the sheep. Jesus protects his followers as shepherds and protects their flocks from predators. He says, I am the resurrection and the life. Death is not the final word for those who are in Christ. He says, I am the good shepherd. Jesus is committed to caring and watching over those who are his. He says, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. Jesus is the source of all truth and knowledge from God. And he says, I am the true vine. That when we attach ourselves to Christ, when we commit to following after him, we enable his life to flow in and through ours and sustain us and bring fruit out of our lives that we cannot do on our own. We cannot help but to bear the fruit that will honor the Father when we are connected to him. That these are the things that when we focus this, what is he will do this. He will do this is really what we need him to do. When we focus on him, when we pursue after him, he will complete the task that is the best for our lives. Will it always look like the way we want it to? No. But it will be what's best for us. So you may be wondering, well, how in the world do I get there? How do I get to that place? How do I see him as the answer to all that I need? Well, I think there's some common things there's some things that we can do that can help us to going in the right direction this year. The first one is this, is we would commit. That we would commit. The definition of commit is to carry out or perpetuate, to pledge or bind to a certain course or policy. That in 2023, that we would make the determination that we would decide that today, moving forward throughout this year, that we would pledge to grow spiritually. That we would pledge that this would be the year that I would commit to spiritual growth. Now, we're not saying yes to great circumstances. So let me clear that up real quick. We're not saying that, here's the deal, we have no clue what this year is going to bring. Do you know? I don't know. We don't know what's on the other side. We don't know what tomorrow brings. We don't know what happens the rest of this hour, what happens when we walk out in the parking lot, when we go down the road. We have no clue what 2023 is going to bring. But what I'm saying is that should not matter. What we're saying yes to when we commit to pursuing after Jesus, when we commit to this being our best year spiritually, we are saying yes to seeing our circumstances differently. We're committing to the circumstances won't dictate my growth with Jesus. That in spite of what goes on, that I will grow with him. That we would pledge to grow spiritually. And the beauty of this is we are committing to someone who is committed much deeper to us than we are to him. We're committing to someone who is committed to us, and he has a history to back that up. There's history that goes along with this. Let me go to John chapter 1, verses 1 through 5. It says this, in the beginning was the Word. This is Jesus. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. What I'm saying is the history that what we're committing to spiritually in 2023 has been there from the very beginning. And the commitment that God the Father, that Jesus the Son, that Holy Spirit have had for each and every one of us from the very, very beginning was so that we would grow, that we would live the life that is best for us here on earth, that we would live in such a way that it doesn't end when we take our last breath, but that our trust and our dependency on them would fulfill, would offer more life to each and every one of us. He was there from the very beginning. He was there as life was being made, as all was being created. He was there as history began to transpire. He was here. He came here to be with us so that he could experience what we experienced, so that he could give his life so that we may have life and may have it to the full. He has a history that shows us. So what does that mean? That it's easier to commit to something that has history, doesn't it? It's easier to say yes to something that we know has been there, that has been successful. That's why testimonies to diet plans are huge, right? Well, it worked for me. I lost 30 pounds, and I just sat and watched TV, right? It's pretty easy to buy into something when there's history to it, when there's proof that it's had impact in people's lives. So what we're asking of this year for each and every one of us is that not that we would commit to something that we have no clue what it's going to provide. We know what Jesus will provide for our lives. We have proof. It is written. It has been experienced in people's lives. That we could commit to this. We commit to something that not only has history, but it has the future in its hands as well. That is something that should bring us some hope and some confidence into committing to something like this. I mean, to commit, let's be honest, we can all commit, right? Like, it's pretty easy to commit. Life makes it pretty easy to commit to some things. I mean, I've committed myself to a gym membership before. I've done it, and then didn't go to the gym. It can be easy to say, I can do this, and not do anything with it. So that's why this next piece is an important piece of it. So we would choose to commit. We would commit that 2023, I'm going to pursue after Jesus, that this is going to be my best year spiritually, and that what we can do is that we can make a monument. We can commemorate what is taking place. We would assign sentiment to something as a reminder of your commitment to pursue the Lord. We would set up a reminder for each and every one of ourselves, individually, that this year, the 2023, I've made a decision. I have committed to pursuing after Jesus. That I'm going to commemorate this moment. And this isn't nothing new. This is something that we consistently do as a church, is try to remind ourselves. That's why we hand out things that you can hold in your hands and you can take home with each and every one of you. That's why we will do wristbands and we'll do all those sorts of things. But it's been something that's been done long, long ago. We see the Israelites of the Old Testament would do this often as a remembrance for them. We see this for the whole nation, the nation as a whole, when they were entering into the promised land, the promises that God had given them. After they as a nation had been wandering through the wilderness, we see the Israelites make monuments. See, what was happening is they're getting ready to cross into the promised land, this land that God had promised for them so long. If they would just pursue after him, the promises would be that this would be yours. And what we see is they came up against the Jordan River, and as they're all looking at how are we going to get across here, the priests with the Ark of the Covenant, where God's very presence went ahead of them, went ahead of the nation through the Jordan River. And what God did was God pushed back the waters. It's easy to forget sometimes how God can make a way through things, especially even the Israelite nation. They're their own kind, their relation, their forefathers experienced God doing this before. And God does this again. He pushes aside the Jordan River, and they walk through on dry land. And once this whole nation walked through this water, Joshua, who was leading them into the promised land, commanded that one person per tribe to go back into the middle of that river as it is still pushed apart and get a stone from the middle of the Jordan River and take it to where they were camping. And then what Joshua did is he brought, after they had camped there, he brought all the 12 stones together and formed a monument for all of Israel. So that they remember. He states it in Joshua 4:21. It says this: He said to the Israelites, in the future, when your descendants ask their parents, what do these stones mean? Tell them Israel crossed the Jordan on dry ground. For the Lord your God dried up the Jordan before you until you had crossed over. the Lord your God did to the Jordan what he had done to the Red Sea when he dried it up before us until we had crossed over. He did this. He did this so that all the peoples of the earth might know that the hand of the Lord is powerful, and so that you might always fear the Lord your God. That each and every one of us, that we can make a monument, have a reminder, have something so that we can look to and be reminded of what we're pursuing after, that we can be reminded of the goodness of God, that when it's all said and done, when 2023 is done and 2024 shows up, we can hold that monument in our hands and say, God has been faithful through all of this. Through all of this. I don't know what the monument would be to you. And many times we would usually set that up for you. Like, hey. But I think this year it needs to be something personal. It needs to be something that you choose. Something that reminds you that this is the year that I am pursuing, that I am going to grow the most I've ever grown spiritually in my life, right here. And this, it may not look like that. It may look like junk to somebody else. But to you, it would be a reminder of what you are pursuing after. Maybe it is a stone. Maybe it's a new Bible. Maybe it's a journal. Maybe it's scripture that you are posting all over your environment. I don't know what it is. But that's for you to determine today, what would be the monument, what would be the thing that whenever I see it, it would remind me that I made a decision to commit myself, to pursue after Jesus, regardless of what comes my way, regardless of what happens in 2023, but that I would pursue after that. And the final thing that I would say that if we really want to take hold of this, that we want to pursue God spiritually, we want to pursue Jesus with all of our hearts, with ourselves, that this last thing that, and we're going to talk more about this in a couple of weeks, but is that we need to be accountable to someone. We need to have people in our lives that are going to hold us accountable to whether we are choosing to pursue after Jesus with all our being this year. We need people that are going to ask us questions. We need people that we have to answer to. And you may not have that yet. And that's okay. But I believe that it's time. It's time to begin to consider who you need to have in your life that can ask you those questions, that can hold you accountable, that you in turn can hold somebody accountable. That we would have someone. Listen, one of the biggest issues that we have in fulfilling the commitments that we make is that many times we try to do it alone. I'm not going to show up to the gym by myself. I mean, that's just reality. It's a stupid excuse, but it's still. It is a lot easier to stay committed to something when we have somebody who is asking us tough questions. And that's what we need for each and every one of us. We need that. We need people to ask us the hard questions that would stand in the gap for us. James, the brother of Jesus, says this in James 5:16. Therefore, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. It is important to have people in your life that are going to hold you accountable, that are after the same goal. So this year, as we're talking about the idea that we want to grow spiritually, we want this to be the best year spiritually in 2023, that if we as a whole would choose to do that, we know that we have people that are here to hold us accountable. But it takes us being humble to ask those questions. So over the next 3 weeks, we're really going to dig into what it looks like. What is it going to take to grow spiritually in 2023? What is it going to look like to be the best year spiritually for each and every one of us in 2023 over the next 3 weeks? So I'd encourage you, come back. Come back next week to find out what's next. In fact, bring somebody along to experience what God has for you in 2023. This could be your greatest year, regardless of 2023 brings you.